where we left off. Have to pause real quick. Finally, on a new line after your second element, create another input element after your second element on a new line. Okay. What in the world? Okay, that's right here. Create another input element. This one with a type number attribute. So it's over here then. Another input. Man, that's another input type. Do I have the English yet? Type number. Type attribute set to number. A minimum attribute set to 1. Set to 0. Oh, not 0. Oops. Did you say 0 or 1? 0 to ensure it. Okay. Placeholder. Placeholder calories. Placeholder calories and an ID attribute that matches the 4 attribute of your second label. Okay. And an ID that matches the label of this. I'm gonna have to take time to see what's going on here. Input type number. Yeah. Oops. Right here. There you go. So we have a new string and that label, right? HTML stream. We put a label with that temporal string to a template string or whatever it is, right? And we did that, right? Then we put an import for that and say, okay. To see your new HTML content for the target input container, you will need to use inner HTML property. The inner HTML property sets or returns the HTML content inside an element. Here is a form element with a label and an input. Okay, nested. If you want to add another label and input element inside the form, then you can use inner HTML property as shown. Constant form content label for. Okay, so we just make a variable with some HTML code. Okay. So we don't even need a template. It could be regular HTML code. And then we do dot inner to inst. Okay, that makes sense. Little by little. Use the addition assignment operator. Okay, to append a HTML string variable to the target input container. So I assume that this is done. So target input container dot inner HTML, then plus equals. We're gonna do HTML string. Okay. What is the target input container again? I think that's a variable actually, target input container. Input container is over here, exercise, input container, legends, class. Okay, so the input container is part of the field set. Yep. So this is the input container over here. And the target input container was okay, there's a target container document query selector and it selects the entry drop-down value input container to target an ID inside the input container. Okay, so it gives me a specific input container. So you're gonna change all of that. Ooh, wow, this is so it changed all of this depending on the ID. This is so convenient. In the role playing game project, you learn how to set a button's behavior by editing its own click property. You can also edit an element's behavior by adding an event listener. The following example uses the add event listener method to add a click event to a button. When the button is clicked, the print name function is called. Button. Where's the method? Select dot. Okay. Function name. Console. Add event listening. Click. Print name. Okay. The add event listener method takes two arguments. The first, the event to listen to a click. The second is the callback function, or the function that runs when the event is triggered. Call the add event listener method on the add entry button. Pass the on click. So add entry button, then add event listener, and then we're gonna pass the click, and we're gonna pass and the add entry function, and don't put anything else. Flip. Launch. I did both. Oh, okay. Try adding a couple of entries to the breakfast category, and you may notice some bugs. The first thing we need to fix is the entry counts. The first entry should have a count of 1, not 0. The bug occurs because you are querying input, okay, type text elements before adding the new entry to the page, okay. To fix this, update the entry number variable to be a value of the length of the query plus 1, okay. Add this to the declaration. Okay, let me see. So we're gonna add poop has 10 calories. Then oh, entry. Okay, that's entry 1. Oh, okay. I see what they were saying. Right, versus and notice bug. First is your entry number variable to the value of the length of the query plus 1. Okay. Plus 1. So here, because we start with 0. Yes, there you go. Your other bucket, so if you add breakfast entry, fill it in, then add a second breakfast entry, you will see the values added disappear. Oh yeah, I think I saw it earlier. It will say nothing. Yeah, Okay, this is because you are updating the inner HTML directly, which does not preserve your input content. Change your inner HTML assignment to use insert adjacent HTML method of target input container instead. Do not pass any arguments. Okay, inner HTML over here. Insert what? Insert adjacent HTML. Adjacent HTML. Don't pass any arguments. So if you insert, if you do inner HTML assignments deleted, which does not preserve your input, oh, it will just rip free flow. It does free flow. Okay. You should not. You should not access the inner HTML property of target input. I do not. Where is? I am not accessing the inner HTML property. Where do you see me accessing the inner HTML? You should call the method of target input container. Yes, I did. You should not pass any arguments to insert. I did not. Do you want me to delete this? No. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see. Query selector. Coming up where there's nothing over here. Otherwise, it would have done it. Says don't pass any arguments, right? That's what you mean? Yeah, that's not what you mean. That's not the wording I would have used, but okay. The insert adjacent HTML method takes two arguments. The first argument is a string that specifies the position of the inserted element, okay? The second argument is a string containing the HTML to be inserted, okay? For the first argument, pass the string before n to insert the new element as the last child of target input container. Got you. So it's gonna be, do we put it in? Yeah, we put it in a string before n, and the other one is the actual HTML string. So we pass this one. This is so interesting. Great. Now you can add entries without losing your previous input. Let me see. Do I got poop? That's right. Poop stays. Poop is important. Great. Now you can add entries without losing your previous input. Your next step is to write a function that will get the calorie counts from the user's entries. Okay. Whoop. Function get calories from inputs. Oops. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Actually, that was exactly what I meant. Everything was fríamente calculado. Give it a parameter called list. Nope, just getting closer to the end. Finishing this work thing and then there's a lap. Sorry, talking to the wife. Support us. Definitely do, so I could keep doing things for free. In your new function, declare a calories variable. Let calories and assign it the value of 0. Sure thing. Use let to declare since you'll be reassigning it later, of course. Bam. The list parameter is going to be the result of a query selector, okay, which will return a node list. Okay, the result of a query selector. Okay, so it's gonna be okay. A node list is a list of elements like an array. It contains the element that match the query selector. You will need to loop through these elements in a list. In previous steps, you learned how to loop through an array using a for loop. You can also use a for of loop to loop through an array of a node list. Yes, you can. A for of loop is used to iterate over elements in an iterable object like an array. The variable declared in the loop represents the current element being iterated over. Const element of element array. Console.log element. Create a for of loop that loops through the list. For the loop's variable name, use const to declare a variable called item. Create a for of loop that loops through the list. Okay, that loops through the list for list of no item. For let me say, let's just put node of list for node of list to declare the variable. Oh, they said item. Const item. Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, okay, it's gonna loop through all of them. The node list values you will pass to list will consist of input elements. Okay, so you want to look at the value attribute for each element. Assigning item.value. It's going to consist of input elements. Okay, so it's an input element, so there's a value. Okay, so each item.value. Okay, like an object. So we want to see item.value and assign it to curval. Okay, what are you gonna do? Add it plus plus plus. Assign item the value to a constant core value. You will pass two lists. Two lists. Okay. Oops. Keep forgetting declaring values. Remember that you wrote a function earlier to clean the user's input. Yes, you will need to use the function here. Update your core value declaration to be the result of calling cleaned input string with item value. Okay, so you're gonna call clean input string. That's right. Ghostbuster works too. Clean. Let me remind myself what the function was. Okay, clean. Okay, the rigits. Okay, yeah, you just remove all that stuff. Rigits. You also need to confirm the input is valid. Declare an invalid input match variable. Okay, you also need to confirm for the thing. Okay, invalid input match variable. Assign it. The result of calling is invalid input on core value. Gotta keep you honest. Core value. Core value. Core value. Remember that your is invalid input function returns string.match, which is an array of matches or null if no matches, is valid. Match, okay, yep. In JavaScript, values can either be truthy or falsy. A value is truthy if it is evaluated to true when converted to a boolean. A value is false if it is evaluated to false when converted to a boolean. Null is an example of a falsy value. You need to check if its invalid input match is truthy. You can do this by passing the variable directly to the if condition without a comparison operator. Yes, because it's only if it's true. Here's an example of true to hello. Yes, that goes to 1. If a statement that checks is invalid is true. Add a statement that checks if invalid whatever is truthy. Okay, this after. So after we get that, we got if. I'm gonna copy that and save my fingers on a mission to save my fingers. Okay. Browsers have a built-in alert function which you can use to display a pop-up message to the user. The message to display is passed as the argument to the alert function. Okay, using a template literal in your if block, call the alert function to tell the user invalid input followed by the first value in the invalid input match. Okay. Browse build using the template if the block if the block followed by the first value of the blah blah blah. Call the alert function to tell the user invalid input. So this here, okay, so okay, it's true. So it's I see because it's check if it's invalid. Okay, alert, and it will pass call the alert function to tell the user invalid input. Sorry, I was thinking about stuff with reading, so not the best. Followed by the first value. So yep. Focus, Anthony. Focus. Okay. Oops. Mm, no, but I'll stop. First value in the invalid input match. So invalid input match 0. Alert. That looks about right. Yep. In programming, null is meant to represent the absence of a value. In this case, if the user enters an invalid input, you want to alert them and then return null to indicate that the function has failed. Still, within your if block, set isError to true and return null. Okay. Then if that is this, then isError equals true and return null. We have the isError. Is error. I remember seeing okay, is error here, so it will just set it to true. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. 66. Remember that return ends the execution of a function. After your if block, you need to handle the logic for when the input is invalid. Return your if because your if statement returns a value, you do not need an else statement. Okay. That's where I messed up on another project. Use the addition assignment operator to add curable to your calories. You need to use the number constructor to convert curable to number. Okay. The number constructor is a function that converts a value to a number. If the value cannot be converted, it returns not a number. Okay. Sample to tune. Okay, so the if is done for every value. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Under the assignment operator to add carbo to your calories. Yes. To your calories total. Okay, calories is over here. So calories plus equals to carb. Done. Okay. You should pass. Oh, numbers. I forgot. I forgot. My God. The whole point of that was this. To make it a number. After your for loop has completed return calories. Okay. So over here. Well, hold on, let me see. Yeah, after you've done everything, then you return calories. Not here. Return calories. Pop. Now it's time to start putting it all together. Declare an empty calculate. Okay, function. Okay, function. Calculate calories. Bam, bam. We take the parameter e. Okay. This function will be another event listener. So the first argument pass will be a browser event. E is a common name for this parameter. I did not know that. Okay. You will be attaching this function to the submit event for the form. The submit event is triggered when the form is submitted. The default action of the submit event is to reload the page. You need to prevent this default action using the prevent default method of your e parameter. Add a line to your calculate calories function that calls the prevent default on the e parameter. Then reset your global error flag is error to false. Okay, let me understand this. Okay. Okay, yeah, so the fall is submit. So you want to click submit without reloading the page. Okay, got you. Add a line to your calculate calories function that calls the prevent default. Prevent default default on method on the e parameter. On the e prevent default. And then reset your global error force is error equals to false. Just double checking the code to understand. We're setting it to false again. will be attaching this function to the submit event. These calorie counters, okay? Your function is to get the values from the entries the user has added. Okay, valuable. Let breakfast number inputs, rather give it the value of calling a document dot query, query selector all, query selector all, query selector all. With the selector, we're gonna select the breakfast input type number. This will return any number inputs that are in the breakfast element. Okay, let me understand this. When you calculate the function, you're preventing it from reload, so there's no error. And then we're gonna get the breakfast inputs. Select all queries with the breakfast input. Oops, breakfast. No, 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 that's not what I wanted. Breakfast input number. Okay, this will return the number of inputs that are in the breakfast. Okay, anything in the breakfast, the number inputs. Okay, okay, I get it. You should declare a breakfast break fast number inputs variable. Document dot query selector all with a breakfast input type. Yes. So am I supposed to do this and call them both like that? Yes, I was. Good to know. Using the same syntax, query your number inputs in the launch element, assigning the launch number inputs. And we are going to go and do it the smart way or the highway. And we're gonna do launch. Oops. Launch. And then we're gonna do launch. And just like that, we pass. 72. Following the same pattern, query for your number inputs in the dinner, snacks, and exercise. Got you. I am well aware of how this works. So we are doing dinner. Let's do one at a time. Dinner, dinner, dinner. Then a snacky, snack, snack, and exercise. Don't forget your exercise. That actually fit it so good in there. I'm a comedian, non-comedian. Ooh, what did I mean? Exercise. No, exercise. Snacks. That's where I messed up. Where are you? Snacks. Snacks. Yeah, yeah. Now that you have a list of elements, you can pass them to your get calories from input. Let me see the camera. Sorry, I'm moving so much. Okay, yeah. The messy hair is still there. Now that you have your list of elements, you can pass them to your get calories from inputs. Extract the calorie. Okay. Declare get calories from inputs. Do we have that function? No. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna work to that. Declare a breakfast calories variable and assign it the result of calling get calories from input. Declare. So you want me to put it here? Is that why you did that? Okay. Let. Oh, it's right in top. Okay. Gotta understand what's going on, not just doing it. Otherwise, not learning. Send the result of calling get calories from inputs with breakfast number inputs. Ooh, okay. As the argument with break. Mm, with break fast number inputs. Essentially, well, that's hoisting, so that will put all of this stuff here. I wonder why they just put it on top though. I would put this. Oh, well, I guess you want all matching. Yeah, I guess so. Now declare a lunch calories variable and give it a blah 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 blah. So you want to put it right over here. Okay, you're putting it down here. That makes more sense. Cons lunch. What is it? Lunch calories. Then get calories from inputs. And then past the big long calories input. Beep. That's all you want, right? You don't want more. That's right. And you want the same for everything else. Okay. So here it would be dinner. Dinner. Ah, dinner. And here you will have snacks. 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 And here you will have exercise. I wonder why you use constants though. Because don't you change it? You also need to get the value of your budget input. Yes, you already queried this at the top of your code and set it to budget number input variable. However, you use get element by, which returns an element, not a node list. Oh, okay, because you're getting the element. Okay. A node list is an array-like object, which means you can iterate through it and it shares some common methods with an array. For your get calories from inputs function, an array will work for the arguments just as well as a node list. Yes. Declare a budget calories variable and set it to the result of calling get calories from input and pass an array containing budget number input as the argument. Okay, so we're doing over here then, I guess. Function declare a budget calories variable and set it to the result of calling, okay, never mind, budget calories. Budget calories and call it the result of calling, okay, calories from inputs. Inputs and calling inside, we're gonna call budget number input. Budget number input. Right. Budget number input. That's the argument. Okay, calories inputs. Get calories from inputs. Budget calories. Get calories from inputs. Budget number input. Now you should call with the we gotta make it specific that it's an array. Oh, okay, so they know it's an array. Your get calories from inputs function will set the global error flag is error to true, okay? If an invalid input is detected, okay? Add an if statement to your calculate calories that check the truthiness of your global error flag. Mm. And if it's truthy, then return to end the function. Get calories from input. Where is the get calories from input? Okay, right here. If is error, return. Okay, that's close enough. That's good enough. Add an if statement to find that checks the truthiness of the global error flag. And if it is truthy, then use return to end the function. Okay, so you won't do anything, you just end. Calculate. Calculate. I thought you said, oh, the calculate is from here. Okay. Yeah. So I did it on the wrong one. I don't know why did I think about the other one. Why did I think about calories from inputs function? Okay. So this one sets it to false immediately, right? So when you put it there, you calculate. Where would you put it? I'm gonna put it here, but I want to see where would you put it. Okay, support. Remove interruptions. While that goes on, okay, so they put it, where did they put it? Same where they put it, okay. So after doing anything, it is time to start preparing your calculations. Start by declaring a consumed calories variable and assigning it the sum of breakfast calories and lunch. Okay, note that the order does not, order matters. Okay, note that the order matters for the test. Be sure to do this after the if statement. Of course, because then yeah, because it checks this, and if it's true, then it doesn't even do it. I consume calories. Consume calories. Then what do you put? Assign the sum of all of this. Okay. I know there's a math sum or something, I think, but either way, what we're gonna do is just add stuff, man. Just add all of this. Okay. Now declare a remaining calories variable and give it the value subtracting consumed calories from budget calories and add it. Okay, remaining calories. Sure. Remaining calories cannot be constant. Why could. Right. I'm confused with remaining calories of consume calories plus exercise. No, consume calories minus exercise. Minus, what was it? Exercise calories? Yeah, it should be exercise calories. Exercise. Why is this a constant when this is going to change? You're going to add more. Oh, but it's always this, so it doesn't change the variables. Okay. Subtracting the consumed calories from budget calories up. Consume from budget. Budget. No, the other way around. Budget calories minus consumed calories. And then you add the exercise calories because you can eat more of those. Okay, yeah. Plus the exercise calories. Yep. You need to know if the user is in a calorie surplus or deficit. A calorie surplus is when you consume more calories than you burn. And a deficit is when you burn more calories than you consume. Burning as many calories as you consume is called maintenance and can be thought of a surplus or deficit of zero, depending on your goals. Declare a surplus or deficit variable. Then use ternary operator to set surplus or deficit to the string surplus or deficit depending on whether remaining calories is less than zero. If it is less than zero, then surplus. Okay, no. Okay, surplus or deficit. And you want a ternary, so is that the if then? Okay. You're doing constant, so let's just do surplus or deficit. Not gonna write that. Gotta keep looking up. So declare that. Declare, then use a ternary operator to set surplus to the string or deficit depending on whether remaining calories is less than zero. Okay, got you. If oops, remaining calories is less than zero, we have, oops, we have return, no, we have surplus. Turn surplus. Else, no, but then what about maintenance? So it should be catch. We could do a switch. Well, let's do it for now. They didn't say anything about maintenance. Return. What is it? Deficit. Deficit. calculate, because you have a surplus or deficit. Yes. Ooh, I forgot. Use this that they want. Equals. Equals. To calculate, you should have a separate variable. You should have a ternary operator that checks if it's less than 0. Okay. Remaining calories. Okay, less than 0. Isn't that a ternary operator right there? What if I put as if? No. Calculate calories is not defined. Calculate calories is not defined. E. Calculate function should have calculate calories. Okay, the calculate calories. After you calculate all the calories, you have a constant variable. Yeah. Turn. Is initialized in constant. Initializer 56. Okay, so you want me to put it as a string, an empty string. Okay. You should have a ternary operator that checks. What were ternary operators? Condition operator and if else. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, you want it like the very concise one? That's what you want. Okay, concise. Okay, this is the okay condition and that if true is okay. I forgot about that. So that's what they call it. Okay, so condition. So the condition would be this, and then you put a question. If true, you return. If true, surplus this one. If false, is false, you return this, right? Hmm. Surplus. Return should return the string surplus if it's less than 0. Yes. Deficit. Okay, so just return this. Just nothing. Just nothing else. We don't assign it. Okay. You should assign the return of to this. Okay. So once that, okay, so then we just do return. Return this or this, right? No. Oh. Assign. Do be do on 1. What did it say? You should assign the result of that. So just surplus or deficit. Deficit equals to whatever comes up from there. That is not the way to do it. Okay. So true or false. Okay. What about if we do it here? Surplus or deficit equals to that. So is this the same thing? Yeah, it is the same thing. Hmm. Get rid of this. And then put it like that. That's what it was, little by little. So just one line of code. Okay, got you. That is one line of code because you go like this. Hey, nope. You take the preview off. Oh no, I cannot. Oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, that's one line of code. Right there, yep. Okay, 81. You need to construct the HTML string that will be displayed in the output element. Start by assigning an empty template to the inner property of the output element on a new line. Display in the output. Okay, yeah, the output over here that we clearly defined here. Output, okay? That we clearly define somewhere over here. Okay. Output. And it's hide. It's gonna be hidden. Okay. So over here, output element. So the HTML string that will be displaying the output element. Start by assigning an empty template literal to the inner HTML. Okay, an empty. Okay. Output dot inner HTML do an empty. Okay. Are we gonna change that to a JSON HTML again? When you need to lowercase a string, you can use the toLowercase method. This method returns the calling string value compared to the lowercase. Yep. Your output.initHTML string will need a span element. Create that and give it a class attribute set to the surplus deficit variable. Okay, so we're gonna create the span element. That's what I want here. Span element, and then and give it a class set to surplus deficit variable. Okay, class. This is so cool and so complicated so quickly. Of the variable. Where are the champions of the world? Okay. Or it should be converted to lowercase. Okay. You want to convert it to lowercase. You got it. To lowercase. There you go. Does that work? No, because it doesn't make it a method. So we gotta put it inside here to lowercase. There you go. Oh, I forgot this. Tip. Bam! Give your span the text remaining calories, blah blah. Well, okay, using interpolation to replace remaining calories and surplus or deficit with the appropriate labels. Interpolation. So rigid. It will be rigid. Okay, so you wanna give it text remaining calories. Okay, so let's just put that first, and then we'll see how we do this. Give your span the text. We're gonna give it the text, right? Give it this text, and then remaining calories. So we'll give you the calories, and then you said 5 calories surplus or deficit. Okay, okay, okay. So since we were gonna get the remaining calories, so interpolation just simple. It's just this. Okay, you're just gonna tell me what calories they are there, and it's gonna this cause surplus or deficit depending on what goes, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, confuse me with that interpolation BS. Okay, there you go. There you go. When the user has a calorie surplus, the remaining calories value will be negative. You don't want to display a negative number in the result string. Okay, why not? Well, yeah, because it doesn't matter, okay? Because it says, yeah, surplus. It's a built-in, like the absolute. In your span element, wrap remaining calories reference in math absolute. The simple remaining calories. So right here will be math dot absolute. Beep. Is ABS or AB? Got a feeling it's ABS, yeah. ABS system for the brakes. Put the brakes on that negative sign. After your span element, add an HR element to create a horizontal line. Okay, horizontal line after the span element. Right after, right here. And it's still all part of the string, so we're just gonna do, we're gonna put it together, HR. Call HR, guys, HR. No, it should be on a new line. Of course it should be in a new line. Come on, what were you thinking? And this should be all the way together right here. All together like friends. There you go. Now create a P element with the text. Budget calories. Calories budgeted. Okay, budget calories, calories budgeted. Use interpolation to replace blah blah. Okay, same thing. Same thing. A P element. Okay, right here. Right next, right below HR, because HR always makes a line between you and me because they're better. They think they're better than us. Okay, budgeted. Why do I feel like it should be something else? Because it's budgeted. To replace budget calories. Okay, because this is not even a variable. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, a P element. Oops. P, 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 P. Yeah. Using the same interpolation syntax, add a second P element with the text consumed calories, calories consumed, and a third with the text blah 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 blah. Remember to replace consumed calories and exercise calories. Okay. So second and third elements. Got it. Got it. You really have it right here. Okay. P. And then your friend here. And your friend here. And another friend here. Then P. And yes, we're gonna write this sentence. Because sentences don't write themselves. Unless you copy and paste. P. My God. Jesus Christ. Finally, you need to make the output element visible so that the user can see your text. Your output variable is in an element which has the class list property. This property has a remove method. Your output variable, okay, yeah, the variable that I made. Your class list property. Okay, if you say so. Don't forget to place the word hide inside the quotes. Okay, whoa, okay. Finally, you need to make the output element visible. Yes, we made it invisible with the class element, okay? So the user can see your text. Your output variable is an element, yeah, which has a class list property. Okay, when we did the query, we did get by element ID. Okay, this property has a dot remove method, which accesses a string representing a class to remove from the element. Okay, you got the paragraph element does class list dot remove high. Okay, that's what I'm. Okay, now that makes sense. because here we gave it a hide element right here. So we're removing that hide element. Okie dokie. Use the remove method on the output variables class list property to remove the hide. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay. Output dot class list dot remove, and then we're gonna put hide, and we're removing hide, the class hide. Class list. Okay, so that's how you remove. Oops. Okie dokie. Okay, 8090. If you click on your calculate remaining calories, you'll see that nothing happens. You still need to mount the event listener, okay? Please fill out the budget. Yep, nothing happens. Yep. Add an event listener to your calorie counter element. The event type should be submit, and the callback function should be calculate calories. Okay. The event type should be submit. Add an event listener to your calculate calories element. Which one is my calculate calories element? Wait, hold on. What is it said? Add an event to your calorie counter. To your calorie counter, which is just calorie counter. So just that regular. Okay. Calorie dot. Nope. Calorie counter dot add event listener and the listener, and the event is submit. You're looking for submit, and what does it do? It passes the function of calculate calories, and boom, it's gonna calculate the calories now. Bam. Then let's see, 10 calories, and for breakfast I got poop for 10 calories. Calculate calories. Hey, no, what? How does that even calculate calories? Oh, right here. 1 calorie surplus. 8 calories budgeted, 9 calories consumed. Oh, because it told me from 0 to 1. Oh, okay. That's a bug right there, but we'll get that. Okay. The final feature to add is the ability for a user to clear the form. Start by declaring an empty function called clear form function. Clear form. Empty function. That's what you get. It should not take any arguments. You got it. You need to get all the input containers. Declare an input container variable and assign it to the value of querying the document for all elements with the class input container. Okay. Variable. And for some reason you're using cons. I don't like using cons, but hey. Input containers function called variable and assign it the value of querying. So we're gonna do document dot query selector. Yeah. All. Then we're gonna give it the class dot input container. So when it's all, did you put the dot or not? We are about to find out. Not. What if I don't put the dot? You should declare an input containers variable in your clearing form. Yep. Input containers. Input containers. Got it. You should query selector all. Yeah. Query selector alt method to get the class. Okay. So we're gonna get the class input container. Yeah, so it does. So query selector does take the dot. It's only element ID because it knows it's an ID. So if it's not, you need to let it know what it is. Class or okay, got it. Remember the document query select all returns a node list, okay? Which is an array like, but it's not an array. However, the array object has a dot from method that accepts an array like and returns an array. Okay, to make it an array, okay. This is helpful when you want access to more robust array methods, which you will learn about in the future, of course. The following example takes a node list of li elements and convert it to an array, okay? Example, list items array from query selector li, console output li. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, so it takes the HTML elements and makes them into an array for JavaScript. That kind of makes more sense for me. Okay. Wrap your input containers query selector in an array from array that from do this on the same line as your declaration. Yeah, of course. It is time for another loop. Create a for of loop with a variable called container. Okay. Container and container to iterate. Wait, never mind. Another loop. Okay. For container container of input containers. Don't forget this. For container inside the loop, set the inner HTML of container. Container dot inner HTML to an empty string. Okay, an empty string. This will clear all the contents of that input container. Let me understand this. In HTML, free flows to erase everything. So the input containers, we have all the input containers, all these input containers here. Okay, yeah. Okay, yes, makes sense. Understood. After your loop completes, you need to clear the budget number input. Budget number input. What is the budget number input? Okay, just this input right here. Okay. Set the value of the budget input to an empty string after your loop completes. Okay. Budget number input equals to an empty string. Your clear function should add to the value property. Oops. Dot value. Because the budget number input is what exactly? It's an budget. It's an budget. Guess the ID of budget. ID budget. Okay, so it just gets. Let me see. Budget. It will just get. Okay, but it just gets this. But we want to get the value of that, which is the value that gets inputted in there. That makes sense. Gotta make sure to take time to understand what's going on, not just follow. You also need to clear the output element's text. You can do this by setting the inner text property to an empty string. The difference between inner text and inner HTML is that inner HTML will not render HTML elements, but will display the tags and contents as raw text. Okay, you also need to learn, you can okay, output dot inner text to an empty string, right? Okay, I guess the thing. So we got the inner text of the output, which is all the way at the bottom. Output is the div right after the div that appears here. Okay, which we have gone and made many different things the output. Let's see what we have done to the output function. Calculate at entry. Output the inner HTML. It does stuff, right? So it adds HTML elements and it's going to show up here. When you clear, you're clearing all the text. Okay, that makes sense. To finish off this function, you need to restore the high class to the output. Okay. The class list property has an add method, of course, which is the opposite of remove. It accesses a string representing the class to add the element. So, this is when you clear the form, okay? Output dot class list dot add, and then we're gonna do hide and seek complete. To complete this project, add an event listener to the clear button. Okay. The clear button. When the button is clicked, it should call the clear function. So clear button dot add event listener, and then on click it does the clear form function, and that should be it. That is all, folks. Bling, and that is it. Thank you very much, my dudes. I still don't like how you cannot put more than, what was it? Let's see if that is $9.99. Yeah, so it's put. So I cannot put 10 here. From 0 to 1. I see 10. Let's calculate. Actually, this. Yeah. Oh, it took 10. It did. It did took 10. But why didn't it do it before? What about here? Oh, so it did work. Okay, never mind. So that's done. Thank you very much. You guys have a calorie counter right here, very manual. You probably will never use it, but you build it and learn stuff. So with that in mind, let's just have a good one. Did I show my age again?